My earliest AI nemesis wasn't a chess engine or a robot. It was a blob, and a goofy looking one at that, from a Flash game called Slime Volleyball. It's over 25 years old, and despite spin-offs, it's remained basically unchanged. I think the next evolution of this game wants to be in 3D, but making it in 3D just increases the difficulty on an already hard game. But what if instead of battling the AI, you became the AI? So I created a visual scripting system that works inside of the game and allows you to connect blocks of code together to control a slime. I invited 11 devs to make the best AI they could to simulate them in a tournament. Each solution will need to utilize observations to control the slime's brain. Brain has two inputs, one for position and one for jumping. The observations contain position and velocity information about the ball and each slime. There are 35 blocks each player can use to process these observations into decisions for the brain. 18 of these blocks are brand new that I've added since the last racing simulation. Players also have 10 points available to customize their slime's speed, acceleration, and jump strength. I created my own AI for everyone to reference, but it's really basic. All it does is move the slime to the position of the ball, and if the ball is close enough, it jumps. There's a very slight backwards offset to the position the slime tries to go to, just so that it is more likely to try to push the ball over the net. But that's literally it. It's super simple. Like Slime Volleyball, the ball can bounce around the bounds of the course. That means there's no outs. In order to encourage players to move the ball over the net, each player only gets 3 hits per side, which are indicated by the 3 circles to the right of their name tags. Each side gets 2 serves, which is just a soft lob towards their side in a random direction. The game is first to 11, but you must win by 2. 7-0 is considered a skunk. The first match of the tournament is between 2 Americans, Jabrils and Jarrito.
So Aya hit me up saying he needs competitors for his low competition. I told him no, get away from me. Then he said, please, I need at least one reigning champion to join. And I said, alright. So I went into this not really knowing what I was getting myself into. And after studying Aya's little basic bot for a bit, I got an idea on what I wanted to do. Simply just move the slime to be a little behind the ball at all times. However, when I tested this against Aya's basic bot, it absolutely sucked. And that's when an idea that only a reigning champion could think about came to my mind. This is no different than the coding I do every day. It's just visual. So I can write an algorithm to track where the ball is going to land and move the slime to that location. Lo and behold, it worked. And now my slime can keep the ball in play for a whole minute plus. So good luck to other flunkies entering this tournament, because I think we know who's about to win this. And also, I added a little Easter egg to its code, so hopefully my slime gets the opportunity to show it off.
Hello everyone, it's your boy Jarrito here, and today we're playing some Slime Volleyball. Let's take a look at our character and see what our visual scripting is doing. You can see I've chosen a fairly balanced build with a little bit of extra jump and speed. This tends to work pretty well with what I have written so far. My code is fairly simple. I kind of went for a simple approach, just simple and reliable. I think some people are going to have much more complex scripts, but this is mine. Up here, I have some logic to see what side of the court we're on, and to give us a negative or positive value that we can multiply across all of our different logic. So on the court, the right side is actually negative, the middle being 0, and the left being positive. So by finding where the slime is in relation to the court, we can actually make sure that it functions properly depending on either, or if it's on either side. So let's go ahead and start it up against Aya here. They actually play kind of similarly. I think Jarrito's just a little bit more tuned and has a little bit more going on. It does what I like to call the back shot, which is where it's like knocking the ball to the back before it's sending it forward. And that seems to work pretty well, and it seems to be a little bit harder to defend against than if you just simply knock it forward. I think defense is really going to be my weakness here. I do okay against Aya, but I think other players I might be a little bit harder to defend against. I really think it's going to come down to who gets the ball first and who with the serves. I think it's just offense has a big advantage here, so we'll see how it turns out in the tournament.
Jarrito takes early control with fast-paced net pressure. At 4-0, a miscalculation gives Jabrils his first opening. Another fumble off the net hands him his second. Then a sharp return closes the gap to 1. Some net defense by Jarrito pops the ball up and he spikes it, but good defense by Jabrils to keep it in play. He lobs it over the net, which catches Jarrito off guard. 4 points conceded from Jabrils due to too many touches. Certainly a sore spot in this matchup. And that seems to be the deciding factor. Jabrils concedes more than half of his points due to too many touches. Jarrito takes this one 11-6. Our second matchup is also between two countrymates, Biggs and Roody, both representing the United Kingdom.
So last time I did one of these, I made the mistake of having a bevy or two before starting. And it went great.
Coming down the hill, he has too much speed and ends up colliding in the corner. This, folks, is why you don't drink and drive. Let's drink and drive.
So this time I resolved to make sure that everything would go as smoothly as possible. Okay, I've got this. Rather than fake remake the whole thing for the sake of recording it, I'm going to do an artistic reenactment for you. So there's the ball, and there's my slime, and there's Aya's slime. My first tactic was the obvious, have the slime follow the ball and jump whenever it gets near it. This was surprisingly effective, but I knew I was going to have to step it up if I was going to have any chance against the other guys. So I made it so my guy only jumped when the ball was close and falling to avoid him jumping too soon and being in the air when I needed to jump for real. Then I made it so that he moved to the centre of the court when the ball was on the other side of the net so that he didn't keep getting caught out by deep lobs. Oh yeah, and about that.
Get bull. Get bull. When you know you're serving, you just wait. There is a self-side bull. I'm actually not using it. If that makes sense. Oh, you calculated that yourself?
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
And while this worked, he was now getting caught out anytime the ball sort of trickled over the net. So after hours of battering my stupid little brain, I managed to come up with a solution for predicting where the ball was going to land, so we could move directly to that spot. If the landing spot was close to the net, we chase it. If it's comfortably past the net on the other side, we move back to the centre. My guy seems to be a solid net player, but a little weak at the back. But I've reached a point where I no longer know what my own nodes are doing, so here you go.
Hey there, I'm Roody and this is Roody Jr. And here's how he works. He swaps between two modes, one where he tries to deflect the ball whilst at the net, and another where he chases behind the ball to catch it and hit it back. I built him to play more defensively, so I gave him pretty low stats apart from his acceleration, so he can always get behind the ball, and then most of the time hit it back or deflect it. All the other contestants' AIs look honestly terrifying, because Roody Jr.'s code is pretty small compared to them, but maybe he'll be able to deflect some balls back and catch the opponents out, hopefully scoring some points.
Couple early points from Biggs are followed by a fierce spike from Roody. Biggs' success seems to come from small, quick touches at the net, but his play in the back half of the pitch seems much less refined. Roody narrows the gap with a long-range return that catches Biggs off guard. The second half of the match is played at the net, where Biggs dominates. Another 11-6 finish here, Biggs advances. The last matchup of the first round is between Hedgebite and Potato. Some of you may know Hedgebite as Zach, the winner of the first racing car simulation. Will his experience making AI in that translate to this tournament as well?
Hey everyone, this is Zach, also known as Hedgebite. And for my slime, I got into some math that made my brain hurt. Namely, projectile motion and predicting projectile trajectory. I don't know what all of this is, but somehow inside of my little slime I got something going on. So if we break this down into just X and Y coordinates, it's a little bit easier to understand how my wall detection is working. We know from the equation what the ball's predicted path is, and we know where it's planning on landing. But since we know where the wall is, if we take the difference between where the wall is and where the predicted spot is, we can subtract that from the original, from where the wall is. And that gives us another value. So that takes our x value, where we want the ball to move in this plane, down over to here instead of here. Before, I was having it where the ball would come and hit the wall, and he'd go way out past the wall trying to get to it, but then the ball would bounce. And after that, he'd correct, but he couldn't get there in time. So this is just helping him be roughly in the right spot for whenever he needs to take a wall bounce and knock it back over.
Hey, I'm Potato, and for my bot I realised something pretty early on. I am nowhere near smart enough to make an AI with a clue what it's doing, so I broke the problem down into a few different ideas that might stop me from dying in the first round. First off, I needed to predict where the ball was going to land on the pitch, because at the moment the bot can barely hit a shot. So I offset the target position by the ball's velocity multiplied by a semi-random number that seemed to move the bot to a good spot. Next up was hitting the ball forward, because at the moment it pretty much just goes up. And for that I just pushed the target position away from the net slightly, so the ball goes much faster and it hits the other side now. And after leaving it running for a while, there was just one problem. It kept on missing the ball, but I realised that was mainly down to the resting position being way too far from the target position, so it had to rush to get there in time. So I made it stop right in the middle of the pitch, which made it move as little as possible. And the bot's pretty much done, so good luck to all the other competitors.
First point goes to Potato. But Hedgebite responds with 3 of his own. Potato scores to bring it within 1. Then Hedgebite runs up the score, making it 9-2. Potato mounts a brief resurgence and cuts the lead to half, but it's too little too late. Hedgebite takes this one 11-5. Roody Dev and Luke the Worm, who both received buys in the first round, will face off in match 1 of round 2.
Hey, last time I had me make an AI, I didn't do too well. So since my F1 career didn't make it very far, I figured why not volleyball? For this, I kept it simple and made it predict where the ball would go based on the velocity of it, and plus gravity and some other numbers that I don't even understand. Now we have the time until the ball lands, which we can use for wall detection. We literally just check if the ball hit the wall before the ground, and if so, we use the velocity of the ball once again, and the remaining air time to work out where we actually want to go. Once we have that, we just need to jump. For jumping, I had this super advanced detection, but I scrapped that and just made the slime yeet itself towards the ball, and that seems to be okay. If the ball bounces off the back, it will probably jump towards the back again and shoot it into the back wall, but that's fine. The slime is still better at volleyball than me, so I cannot complain. Hopefully no one else has spent 100+ hours making this and I'll get past round 1. Or maybe I'll have to find a different sport.
Hey, I'm Luke the Worm, I'm a horror game dev YouTuber. And you are watching the disappointing part of the video. To start things off, I got Worm here binge watching volleyball fails compilation so he could get a feel for how the game is played while I started working on a game plan. I really like it in a volleyball game when the opponent tries to get the ball over the net and then the green giant on the other side just swats it back down to the ground. Unfortunately, height isn't an adjustable stat option. Otherwise, Worm would be walking up looking like Robert Bobrovsky. Although, if I just spam a bunch of slimes onto one side, I kinda get a decent equivalent. I have a feeling this won't be allowed. But what I can have him do instead is rush at the ball and jump whenever the ball crosses over the net from the opposing side, which in theory should block some of the shots. So me saying that this little jump sometimes blocks a shot is basically the same as me saying that my crush sometimes texts me back. Most of the time, Worm just lunges at the ball and misses entirely. But when Worm does touch the ball, he has a tendency to shove it directly underneath him, which as you can imagine is great for yoga, but not so great here. This defensive jump also has the side effect of causing Worm to jump in place while waiting for the ball to be served, like an overly excited preschooler with ADHD. He's a cute little stinker. Oh, now he's watching women's beach volleyball. Worm's offense, however, has some potential. I taught Worm to position himself just a little bit behind the ball, then to jump when the ball gets close to him. This positioning, mixed with Worm's mad hops, leads to some really feisty spikes where the ball almost always lands on the far side of the opponent's court. Not that I actually know what I'm talking about, but that seems pretty good. Here's the stats I left him with. As you can see, I put a stronger emphasis on his jumping. But what if Okay, I've seen enough to know this ain't working. Whilst I was banging my head against the wall watching my little slime boy fail life, I discovered that through commands I could draw primitive circles and lines on the court. These were definitely meant for debugging, but due to a strong case of prefrontal brain rot, I couldn't stop myself from taking advantage of the situation. Alright, now remember what we practiced, son. Just at least touch the ball. Alright, now get out there and beat some slime butt. Yeehaw, semper fi! Yeah, he's pretty screwed.
Worm looks incredibly excited to play. His near constant jumping is an interesting strategy. Cody takes the lead early and retains it for most of the match. Worm has a late rally of deep balls and spikes to steal a win. 11-7, the final score.
So here's how the blob works. One thing that it does is it tries to predict where the ball will land, and it does that with math. This is, you might recognize it as a kinematic equation, and that's to figure out how I solved it for t. This is the quadratic formula from your algebra class. Turns out it's useful for stuff sometimes. Anyway, so we solved for t. That's the amount of time that's left in the air, and from that we can say however fast it's going horizontally, which is constant because that's not affected by gravity. We can multiply those numbers and compare that to its current position to get where it's going to land. So that's what the white circle is. So it's always saying where is it going to land. When it's going to land on the other side, it stands in the middle waiting, and then when it thinks it's going to land on its own side, it goes to that point. But actually it doesn't quite go to that point. This little green circle is it makes an adjustment based on how the ball is flying. And it wants to stand back behind where the ball is going to land and then run through where the ball is going to land as it lands. And there's some tweaking of the numbers, but that's basically how it works. Let's look at the spaghetti. What is this? What is this? I don't remember. Yeah, okay, this is the physics calculation. So we had this, and now we turn that into, based on all this multiplication and subtraction and whatnot, this is the prediction calculation. There's the predicted time to landing, right? So that's what we got here. And then we're multiplying that number by the velocity somewhere to get how far we think it's going to go and then where it's going to land. This is some unused code. Beegs told me to do this and get wrecked, Beegs. I'm not using it. And then down here, I think this is some of the adjustment based on where the ball is coming in. Aya did give me a dot product node this time, so that's great. I get to do a vector operation. But essentially what that's doing is it's saying taking the dot product of the velocity direction, the ball velocity, and it is taking the dot product with the down direction, right? The y is -1, that's down. So it's saying how parallel to down is it? And if turns out if it's not parallel to down, that means it's a shallow shot and it shouldn't wind up to hit that one. It should just try to get under it, right? And so it has that effect, and it combines things based on how parallel or not it is. And through this spaghetti, it decides where to stand. That's how it works. Aya can't score a single point. Hopefully I win.
Jarrito opens this one with a cheeky serve. He sneaks the ball over the net like he's passing a love note to his best friend's girlfriend. Jarrito doubles down, stuffing a few more lobs across the net that Primer just can't handle. Suddenly, it's all square at 5. But then Primer adapts. He starts reading these soft serves like a book, picking them off one by one. Jarrito stumbles with a few misfires, and Primer's consistent methodical play in the second half grinds out the win. UK's Bigs will match up against Norway's ITR.
If you want to succeed at something, the best way to raise your chance of success is by gathering data. It doesn't matter if it's to make a successful game, farm 500 million potatoes, or making slime volley a ball, data is king. Hi, I'm ITR, currently working on a game called Life Below, but more importantly here to win this tournament. Stacking 2 slimes on top of each other tells me their radius is 0.75 meters, moving them close to the net shows me that I can't move closer than 1, meaning the radius of the net is 0.25, moving the slimes to different positions tells me the width of the stage is approximately 20 divided by 3 meters, and using the visual circle indicator tells me that the ball has a radius of 0.2 meters. Using this data, I can implement different strategies like shot prediction, net avoidance, collision prediction, very simple aiming, but that's not enough. I noticed that each time the ball hit a wall, it lost a tiny amount of velocity, so I made a program that could take a recording of a debug output, clean it up, and read the different velocity numbers to find out that it lost 40% of its velocity on bounce. Using this program, I also found out the velocity, jumping velocity, and drag of the slime, making me able to calculate the exact time I need to jump to smash the ball into the opponent's side. And the entire time while doing this, I was constantly comparing my AI to previous versions of itself to verify what features actually made it better. For example, predicting where the enemy is planning to shoot can easily be abused by faking your shots. In the end, I had over 50 different versions, most of which could easily bully the sample AI bots. Lastly, I needed to name my bot, and what better name than Wishlist Life Below, the underwater city builder where you build corals instead of buildings, making it a reef builder.
Off the start, some soft touches by Biggs send the ball just over the net. An attempted spike by RTR is denied and Biggs picks up the first point. But that's the last one he's able to claim because ITR kicks it into a different gear and rips off 11 straight like it's nothing. Match 4 of round 2 introduces our final competitor, the Good Gamer Guy of Latvia.
Hello everyone. I'm the Good Gamer Guy, aka Chris, aka TGGG. I'm from the tiny country of Latvia, but that does not mean my slime lacks the proper viscosity to win. My first goal was predicting where the ball is going to land. So using the ball's velocity and a bit of high school physics, I can calculate the exact landing spot and move to it. With this, my slime perfectly balances the ball on its head, so I added a simple jump condition that makes my slime jump if the ball is close enough. I noticed that if the ball was going too fast, then it would bounce off the sides of the court, so I predicted the landing position after bouncing off the sides. But here's the secret sauce. If the opponent hits a slow high ball, my slime backs up, waits for the perfect moment, and then unleashes a fast, low angle return shot. It's a simple strategy that consistently catches other AIs off guard. That's it for me, so let's win this.
The Good Gamer Guy has an aggressive strategy. His ball placement is absolutely surgical. It seems particularly effective against Hedgebite as he's able to invoke the 7-0 shutout rule in just 42 seconds, faster than you can microwave a Hot Pocket. He sends Hedgebite into the losers bracket where 7 of our competitors are fighting to stay in the tournament. Denmark versus the UK in the first matchup of the losers bracket. A pretty even game to start. Potato with an incredible save. But after a while, some miscues from Potato caused him to mishandle the ball. Potato buckles under the pressure, handing the win to Cody Dev. Well, solid matchup between Jarrito and Roody, but the errors on Roody's side slowly pile up to give Jarrito an 11-5 win. Biggs versus Jabrils in this one. Biggs is the final hope for the UK to get a championship here. He loses 2 points early, but is able to rally for 3 of his own. He seems very uncomfortable handling the ball in the back of the pitch. It appears that he may not account for the invisible ball bounds, and it's costing him valuable points in this close match. UK loses their last contender. Round 3 of the losers bracket is an internal matchup where the winners of round 2 will face off. A lot of back and forth in this one, with play close to the net. Late in the match, Cody gains a 2-point lead, but then also falls victim to the rear of the pitch. He concedes 4 points when it mattered most and is eliminated from the tournament. Hedgebite goes down by 4 to start off the match. Some very long volleys between points in this one. Hedgebite slowly claws his way back within a point, but the early gap was a crater he just couldn't dig out of. Jabrils eliminates him from the tournament. 2 Americans, Jarrito and Jabrils, are waiting for round 3 of the winners bracket. We start with Luke the Worm versus Primer. Primer makes quick work of it and skunks the jumping worm. Tense matchup incoming between Norway's ITR and Latvia's The Good Gamer Guy, who both handily won their first matchups. A point goes early to TG3 as ITR attempts to spike the ball off the serve. After that, though, he's absolutely flawless. Despite really long volleys between the two, TG3 is unable to match ITR's perfection and drops 11 straight. ITR moves to the finals of the winners bracket against Primer. Over in the losers bracket, the Worm is set to go up against Jarrito. Luke the Worm is able to steal a few points due to the unpredictability of his constant jumping, but ultimately falls short of Jarrito. Final score 4-11. Winner of this matchup will face Jarrito. Competitive start, but then Jabrils seems to show some doubt with pop flies. TG3 goes on a bit of a run, scoring 7 points in a row. TG3 eliminates Jabrills.
Yo, Aya, when I win, you have to play this clip, all right?
This matchup determines who will face the loser of the winner's bracket finals. Jarrito tries his strategy valiantly, but at every turn, TG3 has an answer. Jarrito is unable to crack TG3 and gets shut out in a 7-0. TG3 advances to the loser bracket finals. Norway versus America in the winners bracket finals. Both ITR and Primer in navy blue. Primer's consistent soft lobs are easily handled by ITR. The Blob has a solid defensive strategy, but some periodic aggression from ITR is able to chip away at it. ITR easily wins this and advances to the grand finals. Primer is dropped to the losers bracket where he'll face off against TG3, who's coming off a shutout win over Jarrito. It ends up being an incredibly intense battle between two defensive strategies. Both slimes focused on returning the ball longitudinally. At this level, lateral ball movement has proven to be the most effective way of scoring points, so this results in a game of catch. Nearly 10 minutes of real-time gameplay ends with TG3 spiking the ball in his own net. Grand finals will be a rematch between Primer and ITR. It ends up being a mirror of the winners finals. ITR shakes down Primer with incredibly strong lateral ball movement and wins the Turing Cup. Congratulations to the Norwegians and ITR on a decisively strong slime AI. So far, nobody's even come close to taking him down, but maybe you could be the first. The Discord has a free version of this project available, and there's a supporter version available to all patrons. Big thank you to everyone over there and our YouTube members who support this channel so that I can bring content like this to you. A few times in this video, I mentioned the racing simulation that I made. If you're interested in seeing that, click this video on your screen.